Difference between store procedure and function. Store procedure may or may not return the values. Store procedure may or may not return the values. Store procedure may or may not return the values. And store procedures can have select statements as well as DML statements such as insert, update, delete, and so on. So store procedure can have select statements as well as DML statements such as insert, delete, update. So store procedure can have both input and output parameters. Store procedure can have both input and output parameters. Store procedure can have both input and output parameters. For exception handling, we can use try catch blocks in a store procedures. In a store procedure, we can use try catch blocks. So we can use the temporary tables, temporary variables, and CTEs, common table expressions. So we can use transaction within a store procedures. Store procedure can call the functions, but functions cannot call the store procedures. See, store procedure may or may not return values. Store procedure may or may not return values. Store procedure can have select statements as well as DML statements such as insert, update, delete, and so on. Store procedure can have both input and output parameters. Store procedure can have input and output parameters. For exception handling, we can use try catch block. For exception handling, we can use try catch blocks. We can use temporary tables as well, and for exception handling we can use the try catch blocks, and we can use temporary tables and temporary variables, table variables, and common table expressions. So we can use transactions within the store procedures, and we can use the store procedure can call the functions as well. So here, see, functions must return a value. Functions must return a value. Here you can see store procedure may or may not return a value, but function must return a value. Function must return a value. Function will allow only select statements. It will not allow to use DML statement. So here you can see store procedure can have select statements as well as DML statement, but functions will only allow the select statements. It will not allow the use allow to allow us to use DML statements. Function will allow only input parameters. Functions will allow only input parameters and does not support output parameters. So in store procedure can have both input and output parameters, but functions will allow only input parameters, does not support the output parameters. So functions will not allow us to use try catch blocks, and allows to functions will not allow us to use try catch blocks. We can use only table variables. We cannot use temporary table inside the functions. We cannot use temporary tables inside the functions. We can use only the table variables. We can use only the table variables, but we cannot use temporary table inside the functions. Store procedure cannot be called from a function. Store procedures cannot be called from a function. Functions can be called from a select statement. Okay, functions can be called from a select statement, right? So the main difference is like store procedure may or may not return the values, but functions will return the values. Function must return the values. Store procedure can have the select statements as well as DML statements, but functions will have only the select statements. It only allows the select statement. It does not allow us to use the DML statements. So functions store procedure can have the both the input and output parameters, but functions will allow us only use the uh, input parameters. It does not support the output parameters. Function store procedure can have can for exception handling we can use a try catch block in a store procedure, but in a functions we cannot use. So we can use the temporary tables as well as temporary variables and CTEs in a store procedures, but in a functions we can only use the temporary table, not only table variables. We can use a transaction within the store procedure, and store procedure can call the functions, but functions store procedure cannot be called from the functions. So functions call in a select statement from a select statement. Yeah.